All right, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome, everybody. We are very excited for this month's product training, I guess you will. This is the last one of the year, so we won't have one in December. We give everyone the month of December off to spend time with friends and family and enjoy the holidays. We thought we'd go out this year with a bang by doing something a little bit different. I know a lot of the time we have been talking about, product strategy and maybe fine-tuning your skills as a PM. But this time I thought what we could do is introduce a new topic, looking at kind of the direction the industry is going. There's been a lot of buzz recently around obviously cryptocurrencies, but blockchain in general and NFTs. If you haven't heard about NFTs or you don't know what an NFT is yet, that's okay. We're going to get into that. And I just wanted to quickly thank our gold sponsor, Lucid, for helping make Product Hive possible and connecting everyone in the product community. I also wanted to thank TaxBit for allowing Nicki to spend some time with us today. TaxBit is basically cryptocurrency tax software for consumers and enterprises. So if you guys haven't checked them out, go check them out. If you're invested in cryptocurrencies, make sure you know what the tax laws are around it. Get yourself familiar and reach out to TaxBit if you need their services. And then I just wanted to introduce Nicki a little bit. Nicki is she is the head of R&D over blockchain at TaxBit. So she knows more than probably most people in Utah for sure, but probably most people in the country about how blockchain works. She graduated from the University of Utah in computer science. She's been a software engineer for, I want to say, roughly 10 years.
Yeah, about 10 and a half years now. Mm-hmm.
So without further ado, I will go ahead and give time over to Nicki to share her presentation. Thank you, Nicki.
Awesome. Thanks, Travis. Yeah, I'm really excited to be here. I'll do a quick background. Yeah, as Travis said, I've been in the industry a while just as a software engineer, and then got into blockchain stuff in 2015. It just kind of fell into it and started learning about it just from the ground up. It was really pretty early days and just kind of grew with it as it's grown through the years. So I've been involved since like the really beginning of like Ethereum and smart contracts and really creation of the tokenized economy, and been following it through all that, as well as just all of the new chains coming out, all of the fun cryptocurrency things that you can do now. It's just a really fun industry to be in. So definitely happy to be involved and happy to talk to you guys today to kind of just spread the knowledge around and get everyone involved and knowledgeable as we can. Let me see if I can share my presentation.
By the way, while she's pulling that up, we are going to do a Q&A at the end of this. So if you have any questions for Nicki during her presentation, go ahead and put them in the chat. You can send them directly to me if you'd like, and we'll make sure that we cover those at the end.
Perfect. Yes. Ask away. All right. So I figured we would get started with the pretty basic with what is blockchain, because you can't really get into NFTs without knowing what a blockchain is and how it works. So at its most simple level, a blockchain is literally just a chain of blocks or records. So using cryptographic principles, each block is secured and bound to each other, to the one before, similarly to a linked list in computer science land. So blockchain networks, they have no central authority, and by this, they are the very definition of a trustless, democratized system. You can verify yourself whether or not a transaction on the chain is legitimate. You don't have to rely on any third parties to do this. Since it is a shared and immutable ledger, the information is open for anyone and everyone to see. Anything that is built on the blockchain is transparent, auditable, and permanent. Those are like the big takeaways: transparent, auditable, permanent. Forgot to do all my bullet points of that I was just talking.
Who has created, I guess, the most popular blockchains today?
Yeah, so I think I might get in that. We can go over that now, but yeah, so really like the most popular blockchain is probably Bitcoin. That was really the first one, and that was released in around 2008 by a person or persons with an anonymous name of Satoshi Nakamoto. So no one knows who this person or group of persons are. They've never revealed themselves. The original blocks mined by them have never had the Bitcoin moved out of them. So that's really a kind of mysterious part of the Bitcoin world. And then coming off that, Ethereum was really the next big one. And it's similar to Bitcoin, where it has the financial transactions of just the cryptocurrency that you can trade, but it also added on top of it the ability to do smart contracts. And we'll get into those. So one big part of blockchains are the consensus algorithms. So we'll kind of just throw them all on there. But the big ones are like our proof of work, and that's Bitcoin. So consensus algorithms are the mechanisms used to add the new blocks to the chain while maintaining reliability and trust in the network between all of the unknown peers in the distributed environment. So essentially what this means is the consensus protocol makes sure that every new block that is added to the blockchain is the one and only version of the truth that is agreed upon by all the nodes in the network. And a node for like Bitcoin would be called a miner, and anyone really can set up a miner and join the network and participate. Then there's like proof of stake, which if you guys know about Ethereum, they're going through some software upgrades in the next year or so, where they are going to be transitioning from a proof of work system to a proof of stake. Proof of work is mining, where you're just trying to solve like a mathematical problem first to be allowed to mine the block, and you reap those block rewards. So you like earn Bitcoin if you're able to mine that block. Proof of stake is a little different. It has the similar idea that you become a node on the network, but instead of just mining and using your like processing power on your computer to solve a problem, you have a certain number, like every chain is a little different, but like for Ethereum, it's going to be 32 Ethereum is the minimum to participate. So you take your 32 ETH, you stake it on the chain, you're now allowed to be a node, and you're allowed to run the software to validate the chain, and the algorithm chooses a different baker or validator for every block. So it saves a lot of electricity that way, which is why people tend to be moving that direction. And then there's a bunch of other ones like delegated proof of stake, which is just a little bit different than proof of stake, proof of burn, identity. Different chains are coming out with different algorithms all the time, really. All right, so how are blockchains used? So what does the data in these blocks actually hold? So a block will contain collections of transactions from one account to another that happened on that blockchain. For a transaction to occur, each account owner in the network has to create a public-private key pair. So if anyone here holds crypto, you might know this, but you have like an address where your crypto is held. That is your public key. So they're considered a pair because the public key is derived from the private key. This is getting a little technical. Don't worry if you don't follow this part, but it's pretty interesting. And this is really what allows blockchains and crypto to work. So the private keys are a 256-bit number, and there's a huge range of numbers, which makes it statistically infeasible for two people to get the same keys. I think there are about 10 to the 77th power keys available. Because the space of possible addresses is so astronomically large, it is more likely that the Earth is destroyed in the next 5 seconds than that a collision will occur between address generation in the next millennium. So we're dealing with big numbers, lots of big data sets. All right. Public key cryptography is also known as asymmetric cryptography, and it is the framework that uses both a private key and a public key, as opposed to a single key used in symmetric cryptography. In this way, the public key is used by a sender to encrypt the information, and the private key is used by the recipient to decrypt it. One of the most common algorithms for asymmetric encryption, someone sneezed, is RSA. And RSA is a really popular one that everyone probably has heard about. So your public key is the address that you can give out to receive crypto, and it's the from address that someone will see if you send your crypto. So you can give that out to anyone, and because it's an asymmetric cryptography, you can give out your public key and they cannot derive your private key, which makes it secure. Let's see. All right. So how are the blockchains used? So the transactions in these blocks might be the transfer of the blockchain's native currency, like Bitcoin or Ether. Blockchain forms the bedrock for cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, and it's similar to how the US dollar is controlled by the Federal Reserve. But that is a central authority system, and a user's data and currency are technically at the whim of their bank or government. So if a user's bank is hacked, the client's private information is at risk. If the client's bank collapses, or you live in a country with an unstable government, the value of their currency may be at risk. This was really apparent in 2008, and several banks failed and were bailed out, partially using taxpayer money. So these are the worries out of which Bitcoin was first conceived and developed. So starting with Ethereum, the ability to have smart contracts on the blockchain was developed, which gives us a lot of really fun technological possibilities. So what are smart contracts? Smart contracts is a term used to describe computer code that automatically executes and is stored on a blockchain-based platform. They allow for credible transactions to occur without any third parties involved. Smart contracts are really, at their basic level, are just computer programs, and they're committed to the blockchain. And so they are publicly available for anyone to see and interact with if they have access to that chain. When an event outlined in the code is triggered, you can do this either by an external function call or with a predetermined event, the code will execute. And again, anyone with read access to the blockchain is able to watch the contract activity, making it fully transparent and auditable. Smart contracts can't be deleted by default, and any interactions with them are irreversible. So in the software development world, this adds a lot of complexity into smart contract development. As product people, I'm sure you see this all the time, where bugs are introduced in a code base, and people and the developers quickly send out a hot fix or a new version to fix those issues. And in smart contracts, that is not an option. So developing them is a little bit more of a high stakes situation, where you have to be as perfect as possible. So some fun examples of popular smart contracts are NFTs, like we're going to talk about today, such as CryptoKitties. And there's DeFi platforms. So that's decentralized finance, like Uniswap. And then just your run-of-the-mill ERC20 tokens. So an ERC20 tokens are Ethereum-based tokens that really took off in like 2017, before the government kind of started sending out cease and desist letters, because people were actually often making unregistered securities, which you are not allowed to do in the United States. So what are NFTs? They are, like the full name, are non-fungible tokens. So something being non-fungible means it is unique and a non-interchangeable unit. When something is fungible, that means it can be replaced or exchanged with another identical object, much like a dollar bill or Bitcoin, where you could, if you and your friend both have a dollar, you can trade those dollars and nothing is lost. You both ended up with exactly what you started with. So NFTs themselves are essentially pieces of digital content linked to the blockchain. This is done through these smart contracts. Each token minted is given a unique ID and a link to the either image or other data that the NFT represents. So what are some applications of these NFTs? So really one of the first big NFTs was CryptoKitties. So this was a digital trading game, essentially, almost like Pokemon cards. But it allowed people to create, purchase, and sell these virtual cats that were both unique and stored on the blockchain. This was I think in like 2018, and they were released it on the Ethereum blockchain, and it really made a big splash in the crypto world because it started, all these transactions started filling up all of the Ethereum blocks. So it was really hard to get other transactions in. And it really kind of brought the whole network really to its knees, and to really see like the limitations of how many transactions and the throughput blockchain systems have. So that was a really fun time for people trying to do smart contract development. Another big use case, this is probably the most common one that people are hearing about right now, is like digital art. So if you guys have heard of the artist Beeple, he's a digital artist, and he had a project where every day he would create a piece of digital art, and he created a collage of every single piece of his daily art. And it was the first NFT sold at Christie's, like the big art auction house. It's this past March, and it sold for $69 million. So he's probably the most famous NFT artist, and probably like the richest one right now. NFTs have given the digital art space really a way to allow ownership of the work. So a lot of people ask when they're talking about NFTs, like, what's the point? Like, you own a JPEG, like you could copy paste it. What's the point about it? And really, it's about the proof of ownership. And then another really cool part for the artists is you can actually code the royalties into the smart contracts for the NFT. So a lot of creators are really jumping on board with this, and this is why it's getting really popular. So with that coded into the smart contract, you can give the artist a percentage of all future sales in perpetuity. So that's really a big deal, especially with digital art, where there was really no way to prove ownership, to sell it, to make any money off of it. This is a really cool platform for those creators. Another thing that's really picked up steam is real estate. Some applications that I've seen so far are fractional ownership of properties, or just to like represent titles or another documentation about properties. One that's coming up even more and more is gaming. So NFTs in gaming would be I think the most popular one right now is Axie Infinity, and they're using NFTs for in-game assets. So this is a really cool application that I see, because people are then able to prove ownership if their account, like if something happens on the game server, and people in the past would just lose items because they lost data about their users. There was really no recourse for that. This way, with NFTs for in-game assets, they can actually hold their own items, and they can trade them. So it really opens up for really secure secondary markets. And it's harder to be scammed when you can actually see the asset, you can see the owner, you can prove ownership, and you can transfer ownership. So that's been a really fun one. And then something else that we might see more and more in the future, it's still in really early stages, is physical goods. So yeah, there have been a lot of attempts to connect NFTs to real world objects, often as a sort of verification method. Nike has patented a method to verify a sneaker's authenticity using an NFT system, which they have called crypto kicks. So they haven't done anything with it yet, but the patent has been filed. So that'll be a really exciting thing to see what happens. I know other big fashion houses, like I think like Chanel and Louis Vuitton are now implementing a way to put RFID tags into their luxury goods that link to an NFT to kind of prove authenticity. So that's, yeah, really, really cool way to apply this technology in the everyday world. All right, so say you want one of these NFTs, where are you going to get one? So there are a lot of really common marketplaces out there. The most common is called OpenSea, and then there's also things like Mintable, there's Nifty Gateway, which is owned by Gemini, and Rarible. So if you do something like OpenSea, it's a non-custodial platform. So in crypto, there's usually a big debate about something being custodial versus non-custodial, and really like a custodial would be a lot of like a Coinbase or a Gemini or any of the really big exchanges where you give them USD, you buy crypto, but they hold it for you. You don't actually hold your own keys. That's nice in a way, because if you lose your account information, they can recover it. But a common phrase in the crypto world is not your keys, not your crypto, because technically they could just take your crypto and run. They could do a rug pull. They could run off with your coins. So a non-custodial system would be if you actually have your own wallet and you're holding your own private key to secure that wallet yourself. And OpenSea requires that you do that. There are in-browser wallets that most people use for OpenSea for Ethereum, especially called MetaMask. So if you guys want to get into that, I would definitely recommend just getting the Chrome browser extension, MetaMask. You can generate your own Ethereum wallet, and then you can go to OpenSea, connect it, and kind of get started and see what you can do there. You do have to preload it with Ethereum, which I think you can buy on MetaMask, but it might take a few days to get that all set up. But that's what most people do. All right. So really, to wrap things up, sorry, I went through this a little faster than I expected, but the big takeaways that I think you guys should have about NFTs are that they are tokens on a blockchain with a unique identifier. Really, at the basic level, that's all an NFT is. Data is added to the NFT to link it to a specific digital or physical item. And where is the future of NFTs? And really, who knows? I feel like every day I'm hearing about new use cases. New ideas are popping up all the time. This is really a greenfield new space, and there are just endless possibilities on how to apply this technology. And I'm really excited to see what people come up with. And I think that is all I had. Let's see. Oh, yeah. All right. I think I'm ready for questions.
Great. Yeah, thank you so much. So one of the big things is, as product people here in Utah, we are a vast, I guess we span many different verticals in where we're working, right? And so one of the things that I'd love to hear about is, what things in the SaaS world, in what ways in the SaaS world could we use NFTs, do you imagine? And if there aren't any off the top of your head, that's okay. But that is one thing that I was curious about is, in SaaS, what could be a common use case for an NFT?
Yeah, and I can't think of anything specific off the top of my head, but just in any situation where you need like provable, like verifiable uniqueness for something, that's a great use for an NFT.
Great.
And then a question in the chat about like where the NFT data is stored. And I would love to get into that. I kind of glossed over it, but
yep, go for it.
Yeah. So, and as Igor said, so wallets, that's not really applicable, but IPFS is, so we can go into that. But so really in that NFT, you have a link to where the data is stored. And a lot of people do this with like an S3 bucket or some sort of web server. That tends to be a little bit frowned upon because that is how this fun thing called rug pulls often happen. And that happens when you buy an NFT, the link goes to an image, but it's on like just on a random web server. And then the artist or someone could go through and change what that image is underneath. So your link no longer goes to the image that you purchased. It goes to, in one really popular case of a rug pull, a rock. They changed all of the art to just pictures of rocks. So that tends to be a little riskier. A lot of people really like using something like IPFS, and that stands for, so it's this fun project called the Interplanetary File System. And it is pretty much, it's a distributed storage. So it's like a blockchain, but instead of just of crypto and transactions, you can use it for distributed storage. So once you deploy it onto the IPFS chain, it's pretty much a permanent thing. So you can link right to it. And as long as people are running the IPFS blockchain, it will be there forever. So that's where people tend to like to go. But I think people will get there even more once they realize all of the security issues with just throwing JPEGs into an S3 bucket.
We have another question. If you had $30,000, assuming $30,000, and wanted to get started investing or staking NFT, where would you start doing that today?
Okay, so staking tends to refer to the process of participating in a proof of stake blockchain where you become a validator. So if you wanted to stake and support NFTs, that would be like joining an Ethereum staking pool. But really for investing in NFTs, it gets a little tricky because I think right now it's such a craze that a lot of the art is being created and put into NFTs, and a lot of money is being spent on these. And just logically, every project is not going to maintain its value. I think if you really like the art that you're buying, then you should go with that. I wouldn't just buy anything. One thing I look for when I'm looking into NFT projects, first of all, I have to like what the artist does, but I really look into if they have a strong community. Those projects are way less likely to just have the price drop immediately. So I get on Twitter, see what people are tweeting about. Then you can join the different artists' Discord groups, and you can really like see the engagement that they have with the people buying their art, and see how what projects they have planned in the future. And you can really kind of get a vibe of the community, and those with the projects with strong community are the ones that I tend to go for and feel a little safer about investing in.
Thank you. We've got another question. How do you recommend product people to gain functional expertise in blockchain as it involves a lot of technical terms? Or how should product person gain enough information from a domain perspective?
Yeah, this one is just a constant thing that we're running into, is just blockchain is inherently super technical. It's still so early that not a lot is abstracted away yet. It's still like in the early days of the internet, where things were super bare bones. You had to have a really technical knowledge on how to run it, how to connect. And now there's just like an app on your desktop that you open and you don't have to think about what's happening underneath. I think we're going to get there, but right now I would say download MetaMask, download a wallet, buy some crypto, just start playing around with it. That's just being hands-on with this is just the best way to gain the knowledge, and kind of learning where the stuff that you do need to research and learn how it works, and the stuff that you really just don't. Slowly we're getting better at abstracting things like that away, that hopefully it really lowers the bar for mass adoption just on the technical side. So just really get your hands in there.
Great. Michael, did you have a follow-up question related?
Thank you, Nikki, first of all, for sharing, and Travis, everyone, for putting this together and sharing today. I've learned quite a bit just hearing you for what the time we've had. I wanted to ask you if you could explain time staking. This is something I'm seeing going on, and I'm having trouble understanding time staking on the Ethereum platform.
What do you mean by time? Like Wonderland, that platform?
Exactly, Wonderland, exactly.
Yeah, we can get into that. So that's that's really on the DeFi side, like decentralized finance. So that is like specifically if we do like time and Wonderland, that is a project that you buy these tokens and they have the symbol time, and you can, they call it staking, but again, like that term tends to be a little bit overloaded where people are trying to figure out the right word to use, but you pretty much, you commit it to this platform called Wonderland and you earn rewards on that. And really it's because on the other side, it seems like they're lending out funds, or you're supplying liquidity for people to do swaps on their platform. And people pay fees to borrow money and to swap tokens. And so you get rewarded by a percentage of those fees, stuff like that. I love to be involved with. I have money on Wonderland and a few other platforms, but they are inherently super risky, both because you're dealing with like you don't know who has put up these platforms and you're giving them access to your tokens. Technically, they could cut and run and just take it all. And that has happened. And then you have the other side of the risk of that you have converted your tokens into these time tokens, and the value of those time tokens is also really volatile. So the value of that could drop. A good example of that was when SHIB swap first came out, and there was this token Bone that you would use to stake on the SHIB swap system, and you had great rewards for a while. Then after a couple of months, the rewards really dropped, but also the value of those tokens dropped. So people lost a lot of money if you stayed on too long. So it's risky. I only ever put in money that I would be totally fine walking, like totally losing. It wouldn't affect my life. Like maybe like cry for like a day, but get over it. I wouldn't do my life savings.
Well, that really helped. Thank you very much. And is it okay if I ask you one other question?
Yeah, sure. I think, we have tons of time for questions.
Wonderful. I want to get started in minting my collection, my art collection. And I'm learning that there is quite a bit of fees that are attached to it. It seems when you watch the videos and you see everything, whether it's from TikTok to a long YouTube or a speech, obviously makes it seem much simpler. But I'm learning that all these gas costs and transport fees could actually become quite hefty, like it did with the gentleman that created the cows and the horses. So I was trying to figure out, is there a best time other than when Ethereum's cheaper, I guess, when it's down? Is there a best time to mint NFTs that's the most cost effective?
Yeah, so just so everyone kind of knows, so any transaction that you put onto the Ethereum blockchain, you pay a fee to be allowed to make that transaction, and they call that gas. You're paying the gas fee. To deploy a smart contract on Ethereum right now is really expensive. Just it's a really popular blockchain with the explosion of NFTs and DeFi. A lot of people are using it, and so it's kind of supply and demand, right? A lot of people are using it, trying to get in. The cost to participate goes up. Right now, I think the last NFT I bought, so just to do a buy transaction, not even to deploy a smart contract, which is a lot of a bigger transaction than just a buy. I think it was like $350 in fees just to purchase the NFT. So it is really pricey right now. I know a lot of people are starting to try moving on to different chains to mitigate that issue. Like Solana is really popular, Polygon. So you can always just switch what chain you're doing. I will sometimes wait until like 2 a.m. I find that the price of gas does go down a little bit. You can go onto Etherscan, like a really popular block explorer, and they actually have a gas fee tracker on their website, so you can kind of see what the gas fees are, and you can kind of get a sense of when they're going to be at their lowest. It's still just going to be, if you're deploying a smart contract on Ethereum right now, you're going to be, it's going to be a monetary investment for sure.
Thanks for the questions, Michael.
I appreciate
We're going to move on to another question in the chat. It says, curious about in-game NFT assets like those with Axie Infinity. How do those NFTs maintain their value if the game stops being updated?
That would just be a pure economic situation, just supply and demand. If someone doesn't want it, then it has no value. So, they inherently have only the value that someone else is willing to pay for it.
Perfect. What kind of work are you currently doing to implement blockchain into real world applications?
Yeah, so just in my current job right now, no one really likes talking about taxes, but it's especially in the crypto world, they don't like talking about taxes, but it is a fact of life if you are a United States citizen. So I'm really working right now on being able to scrape on-chain transactions. We're really good at getting transaction data from exchanges. That's easy to get. A little trickier is to get any on-chain transactions. So any trades of crypto, and then any interaction with a DeFi platform, any purchasing or trading or selling of NFTs, that usually all happens just on the blockchain. So I'm working on really scraping those transactions, making them in a look nice in a human readable way, so a user can go in and actually see what transactions they made and they make sense, but also so they make sense in a taxable way, so we can have really accurate tax forms involved. And then we're doing some fun things with coming out soon is going to be this fun NFT platform where you can really see all of your NFTs that you own. What did you pay for it? What gas fees did you pay for it? What are some NFTs that you used to own? What did you buy those for? What did you sell those for? A lot of fun stuff like that. And then a lot of cool DeFi support too. So you can see where all of your crypto is involved on different DeFi platforms. So that's I think that should be out by the end of the year, but actively developing.
We'll look forward to that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
We're jumping kind of back and forth between kind of follow-up questions, so I apologize.
It's okay.
I'm just going to go down the list.
Yeah.
You mentioned artists getting into NFT space. I imagine the process of creating an NFT is technical and involves programming. Does it mean the artists do this, or is there a service like drag and drop, click and upload that takes away the technical aspect? If so, can you mention some of them?
Yeah, like OpenSea, like I mentioned, actually has a really easy way that has kind of like pre-made formats for the smart contracts. You just plug in like the specifics, link it to where your art is, and go. They've made it pretty easy. Often, artists reach out to developers to try to do it themselves, either. So it could be if they want to do something special or they just don't want to use OpenSea. I've worked with a few on some things to really help them come out with some specific functionality in their tokens. But on the basic level, just OpenSea has a great platform right now.
And I think what I'll do is after this, when I send out the recording on Slack, I'll also send out some links to some of the places that Nicki has mentioned. So if anyone wants to look forward to those, I'll send those out after the meeting. Next, you mentioned that titles and real estate are held in NFT. Does the owner of property that holds, does the owner of the property hold that NFT? In that case, what happens if the owner loses the private key?
Yes. And this is still super early stages that people are just playing around with. But in this case, yeah, it would be like that the owner holds their own private key, which, as you stated, it's a risky thing to do. That's often why people use banks over having all of their money in Bitcoin on a hardware wallet under their bed. just so much can go wrong and things can get lost. A lot of the projects that are doing stuff with NFTs and real estate, they would have like a process to to issue a new title or a new key. And there's some cool technology out there used that you can kind of do key recovery. So those things are kind of happening, but definitely why it might be a while before this becomes super mainstream.
For sure. I think I just saw recently, didn't Homie just list the first property that was sold accepting cryptocurrency?
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see. Maybe that'll get more mainstream.
Yeah.
Can more than one person own the same NFT?
So an NFT by itself can only reside in one address. So if, in that case, I could tell my husband like, hey, like you and I both own this like we both have access to this address. So we're both owners, but you can't split the NFT as is into two different addresses. Some people are coming out with like fractional shares for NFTs. So that's becoming more of a thing. If people saw, there was just this news article about this group was raising money to buy a copy of like a really old copy of the Constitution. And then they were going to turn it into an NFT, but have it fractional so that, like however many people could all own a portion of that NFT. So that's becoming a thing. But if it's just like a one NFT for one piece of art, only one address can have access to it.
Thank you. How are smart contracts tested to make sure they work correctly?
Yeah, this is a fun one. So a lot of trial and error. There are some audit companies out there that you can pay to look over your smart contract and try to find any vulnerabilities. A lot of vulnerabilities have been missed by these audit companies. Really, when I'm writing smart contracts, the good rule of thumb is to keep them super simple, super small, just really leave as little room for error as possible. Don't try to do anything fancy, but really just do your best and hope that you haven't made any huge mistakes. But I mean, it happens. Even I think if people remember, Ethereum had a fun little, had a fork in, I think in like 2016, 2017, where this big smart contract that a lot of people use for their development had this bug in it that someone was able to exploit, and it ended up locking up. I think what's the value now of the ETH that was lost is like $170 billion. So that caused the Ethereum developers to realize like, oh man, like people aren't going to use this platform anymore because of this big issue. They did a rollback to before the hack and they forked it so that there was the new chain going. So if you go onto exchanges, you'll see Ethereum and you'll also see Ethereum Classic. And Ethereum Classic is the chain that has that exploit that happened on it. And the Ethereum that we know now does not have that. So they are, it's a huge issue. It's constantly, new issues are being found all the time, new exploits. So it's kind of one of those fun, risky things that you hope that you don't get caught in. Let's see, what's the next question here? Okay.
Next, sorry, did you get that last one I just read?
No, I didn't hear you.
Okay. I'm launching a makeup brand. Any advices to create an NFT for it?
That is awesome. And yeah, I would really think of just like a good use case. Like, what are you creating an NFT for? What is the NFT going to link to? What does it represent? Once you figure out that part, I would really try like create a Discord, drum up support, tweet about it, go and then mint it, get on OpenSea and create it and get it out there and see what happens. Really, that's what's really fun about NFTs and blockchain is like anyone can be a participant, even for fun or for legitimate products. anyone can join it, and it's just open source for everybody. So yeah, jump on in.
So if anyone has any other questions, feel free to message them in the chat. I do have another question, Nicki. So from what I understand with NFTs, another way to describe them is digital assets. And I had heard them described as, when you go onto a social media platform, for example, it feels like you own this digital asset of your handle, whether it's on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or wherever else. But in reality, you don't own that digital asset, right?
Yep.
It's owned by that platform. So if they decide to go offline or change something or kick you off, then it's gone. Yep. In talking about, the metaverse, since that is obviously a big buzz that's going around right now with Facebook changing the meta, are there any ways specifically that you see NFTs maybe used in the metaverse? And if so, what ways could we use NFTs in the metaverse?
Yeah, I think some things that like I've heard been thrown around and been reading is just proof of identity is a big one. If no one could, if you're like, I can prove this is my identity linked to this address because I have the private key and I could prove the ownership. That's big. People are talking about having like property, like with NFTs in the metaverse to prove the ownership, just all completely on the blockchain. Those are the big ones I've heard of, but I'm sure people are going to come up with all sorts of great applications.
Great. And just to backtrack a little bit, if anyone's not aware of what metaverse is yet, it's basically a digital world. So kind of combining, the physical with the digital and being able to live an alternate life through the metaverse. So go do some research on that, or we can host another session around the metaverse. We have another question that came in. Hello, Nicki, fellow U alumni here. I've been a full-time international artist designer for 8 years and have invested the last 6 weeks in NFTs on OpenSea. I've tried to list through ETH a couple of weeks ago and still waiting for transactions to clear. I've also listed on Poly to sample a few and wondering if I should continue on that chain or wait for ETH to match my timeline, and what would be the best platform to share my work now, aside from Twitter and Discord.
Yeah, man, unfortunately, ETH is really gummed up right now, and just the fees are really expensive. If you have a transaction that's been sitting there for weeks, that's probably never going to go through. It's probably not going to get picked up. So there are ways that you can resubmit those transactions with higher gas with a higher gas fee to get a miner to pick it up, but probably not if it's just sitting there. That probably means it's not going to go through. Yeah, and that's just been the biggest barrier to entry to a lot of artists is just the costs involved to deploy onto ETH right now. But that's why Polygon obviously getting really popular, and then Solana is just pouring money into this problem to try to really become a huge NFT platform. So yeah, maybe look into one of the other chains, or just if you want to go on ETH, which is the juggernaut, and it's where a lot of people know where to look. It's the easiest one that like OpenSea supports. That's why people like it. You just kind of have to save up some money and really go big on those gas fees to get that transaction to go through. And then other platforms, that one's tricky because it's really a digital space that really just resides, in digital forums. So yeah, Twitter, Discord, Telegram is another one, are really the big ones where I go to. But if anyone else knows of any other big social platforms for NFTs, they can definitely throw those out. But those are the big ones that I know of.
Great. Let's see if there's anything else that's trickled in. Let's see. Oh, what is OpenSea?
So it's open sea, like the ocean. So
SEA.
SEA. So you can just Google OpenSea, it'll take you there, but it's like the most popular NFT marketplace right now.
Great. And I have heard that, other chains, if you're willing to venture out to other chains, like Nicki's saying, there are some that are very, very low cost to entry. You can produce things for pennies instead of hundreds of dollars. So if you're new and you want to try it out, maybe try one of those less well-known chains, and then you could work your way up to
Exactly.
Ethereum at some point.
Yeah. Great.
And great. So are there any other questions? Feel free to unmute yourself if anyone has any last question for Nicki.
And then I'll throw my Twitter handle in the chat. So, and you're always free to reach out to me. I love taking questions. So, oh, is ERC 721 the only token for NFTs? No, it is like the most popular, but another one that's starting to pick up traction is called ERC 1155. But ERC 721 is a good basic NFT. Make sure I get my right Twitter handle out there.
And Nicki, did you have anything else as far as, I think you'd mentioned some codes or something. Did you have any codes?
Oh yeah, so I think my company gave me a free TaxBit account to raffle off today.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Great. So let's go ahead and do the raffle. Derek has the raffle set up. So Derek, would you want to share your screen and do the raffle for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me pull it up and do that. Can I get you to stop sharing your screen, Nicki?
Oh, yep. Sorry. There we go.
Okay. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Nancy Mayer.
Awesome. So Nancy, we'll reach out to you and get your information, and we can we'll award you with that free TaxBit account. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Nicki, for that. Also, if you like this, we'd love to hear some feedback. If you like this type of content, if you want to see more of this, if you'd like another session from Nicki at a future date, maybe we can go more into some specifics with a specific crypto, or get a little more granular in some way. Or if you want to learn about other things related to this, like the metaverse, for example, we can do a session on that. So please let us know in Slack, give us some feedback there. And if we don't hear from you guys from now until the end of the year, we hope you have a wonderful holiday season with your family. And we will have our next Product Hive session in January. So look out for that announcement. Thank you again, Nicki. You've been wonderful. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
And again, everyone have a good rest of the day. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.